Hi there! In this episode, I'm going to discuss the topic of estimation in agile environments. Initially, I didn't want to talk about it because there are plenty of scientific research videos and articles, so another voice on this topic might be redundant. But I've been constantly receiving many questions about estimating in time or points, so I decided to share some research and thought here. This is the origin of this episode. Let's go! Estimation in agile environments seems to be different than in predictable ones. This is because we face uncertainty, something that we have never experienced before. It means that many things, tasks, and features are unrepeatable and unknown. Very often, we have no historical data as we have never done a particular task so far. We face new requirements, new technologies, we deal with unpredictable people. In agile environments, we tend to say that we forecast rather than predict the upcoming work. To summarize, it's impossible to provide an ideal estimation in uncertainty and complex environments. For instance, in time means hours or man days. With forecasting, we don't expect accuracy. I've mentioned scientific research before, and I'm going to bring it up here. Estimation in time might lead us to false assumptions about completion time. People used to estimate time for centuries. Perhaps in the past it could make sense. Now, facing uncertainty in the majority of organizations and still relying on time estimation, but might be useful in known and repeatable tasks. But in general, it's risky. Based on Kahneman and Tversky, human beings are too optimistic when it comes to estimation in time. They call it the planning fallacy. And the planning fallacy is a phenomenon in which predictions about how much time will be needed to complete a future task display an optimism bias and underestimate the time needed. It refers to costs and risks as well. Now, think about your teams and recall from past experience how these teams were too optimistic. How often were they underestimating their tasks? Just think about it. All sources you may find here on this slide, and I will also put them into the episode descriptions, so later on you may come back to it. Another interesting research comes from the Cambridge University Press, and it's pretty new, from January this year. It concerns biases that we face while estimating the completion time under several conditions and deadlines. There are a few biases, just to mention: scope perception bias, time limit bias, and the overlearned cognitive bias. Just to mention the quotation, the overlearned cognitive bias persists even among experienced decision makers making estimates in a familiar setting. Their findings have implications for people who make decisions that use judgments of others' task completion time as an input. And this is the end of quotation. So I would recommend taking a closer look at this research and rethinking how in your organization it's performed. And of course, the link will be provided in the description. There are also other publications related on how people are bad at estimating in hours or man days, especially in complex environments. This is how our brain works and is unable to predict future plans ideally. And again, I would suggest digging up more as this topic is complex itself and there are plenty of dimensions. But what are the alternatives to man days and hours? Please note that all estimations in Agile complex environments are only best guesses. However, based on historical data, we can provide a forecast. And I am a big fan of flow metrics like cycle time, throughput, work in progress, and work item age. And based on past data, we can provide a probability with a certain percentage of confidence. So you are probably also aware of relative estimations like points, story points, t-shirt size, etc. You may experiment with the same size approach. It means that each item has the same size. Anyway, all estimations in complexity are just our best guesses and assumptions. Based on my experience working with teams, I strongly recommend using flow metrics to provide probability. And don't expect an ideal estimation in time. It will not happen. And I'm aware that I touch only this topic. I hope it was inspirational and could lead you to your team's estimation revision. Thank you for watching. If you have any myths or struggles you want me to cover, just put in a comment. And see you in the next episode.